please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Well, we're going to tell you a lot about banking stocks now. Axis Bank, that's the first stock on our radar. It's going to be reporting its Q4 earnings. Abhishek's with us this morning to tell us the expectations. Hi, Abhishek. Good morning.
Good morning, Nigel. So all focus on Axis Bank will be on their asset quality and how that pans out. Key numbers to remember is that the total amount of watch list is at 6,119 crores. So that forms about 1.45% of the book. The second number to watch out will be the BB and lower rated book. Now that forms around 21,120 crores. So that's approximately 4.5% of the book. Both these combined together form more than 27,000 crores, and that forms about 6.5% of the portfolio. So how this portfolio actually expands will be seen very closely. Slippages in the previous quarter was at 4,500 crore. Now analysts on street like Phillip Capital are estimating a slippage of 9,000 crore. So how the slippages pan out and from where the slippages are coming in will be very important. If the slippages come in from the already mentioned stress accounts, then it's not a worried factor because that is already priced in. But if the slippages come outside this watch list and BB lower rated book, then that's a case of worry. Apart from that, the net interest margin above 3.5% will be very positive. Our polls suggest an NII growth of just 5%, but net profit to be down by approximately 89%. Some analysts on street, however, are estimating a loss, like Elara Capital, for instance. They are expecting a loss of more than 1,000 crore. Ambit Capital with a loss of 640 crore, BNK Securities with a loss of 484 crores. So don't be surprised if the stressed assets weigh in on the performance of the bank and that leads to a net loss.
Okay, all right, Abhishek. So that's about Axis Bank. But what do we expect from Yes Bank?
Well, Nigel, the first most important point that we'll be seeing in this result is what the board decides with respect to the tenure of Rana Kapoor going ahead from 1st September onwards for a tenure of 3 years. So Rana Kapoor's actually term expires on 30th of August. So how that expands will be seen very closely. Loan growth above 30% will be positive. Over the last few quarters, they have been maintaining the loan growth between 30 to 35%. Now, net interest margin above 3.4% will be very positive. Last 6 months, we have seen a rise in the bond yields. And, Yes Bank is a very big player in bond markets where they borrow in heavily. So how the cost of funds shapes up and how the net interest margin expands will be seen very closely. The last quarter slippages were at 495 crore. So expect a similar trend or a downward trend to be positive for Yes Bank. However, provisions are expected to remain on the elevated side owing to the RBI circulation that came in on 12th February, which asked a particular banker in a consortium to classify the account as per the consortium, other consortium lenders as they have classified. So our poll suggests an NII growth of 26% while net profit to grow at 16%.
Okay, all right, Abhishek. And finally, Mahindra & Mahindra Financial reported a good set of numbers?
Well, Nigel, it's the strongest balance sheet in last 8 quarters or 2 years. You look at the disbursement, the quarterly disbursement was close to 12,900 crore. And even the growth rate on the disbursement at 40% plus on a YOY basis is the highest ever in 8 quarters. Apart from that, the loan book and the AUM growth. Now, the difference between loan book and AUM is that loan book contains on-balance sheet items while AUM contains the securitized portfolio also. Both of them grew at a rapid pace. Loan book grew by 20% plus, while AUM growth at 18% is the highest ever in last 8 quarters. Apart from that, the strong disbursement, strong AUM growth led to spreads being on the higher side in last 8 quarters. And therefore, return ratios also remained very strong as asset quality, that is the gross NPA, was the lowest in 8 quarters. So even on the housing subsidiary, the disbursement was fairly strong and it was a 6-quarter high. So expect a green in this stock today.
Okay, all right, Abhishek, thanks very much for that. Well, moving on to a mega CNBC TV 18 exclusive, as Sanjay Puri completes 1 year as CEO of one of the biggest FMCG conglomerates, ITC, Shireen Bhan caught up with him to chat about the growth prospects. Puri says that 1 lakh crore revenue target may be delayed by a couple of years, as the company will enter into 4 new FMCG categories this year.
Let me step back first and say that if you look at how the FMCG is performing, Now, we continue to grow much ahead of industry, and so is the case this year. And this is on the back of a comparatively much stronger performance in the previous year, which had its certain events which had led to a muted growth. We actually grew 13% FMCG in that year, and we are sustaining the momentum. And this year, as you mentioned, we've entered four new categories. We've put in about 30 plus new products into the market. In the year ahead, we will see an equal number of new categories that we will get into, a larger number of new product launches, and some of the categories that you will see us, or in fact, one of them that is getting rolled out as we speak is really frozen snacks.
Okay.
So it should be in the market very soon with the ITC MasterChefs, under the ITC MasterChef brand. Right now we are doing the institutional piece, which will be followed by the real consumer side of it. Then we will be coming out with dairy beverages very soon. And there will be at least another 2-3 categories that we will get into during the course of the year. Now we are yet deciding which 2 or which 3 to do. We have a pipeline. So, nearer the time by the second quarter, we will take a final call which ones to go with.
Okay, so frozen snacks you're getting into, and dairy-based beverage segment is what you're going to foray into. How soon you said frozen snacks you've already sort of rolled out on the B2B side, and B2C will roll out shortly. How soon do we see the dairy beverage being launched?
Well, it should happen by Q2.
When...
Well, time to slip into a short break, but it's expiry today, so we'll get you all the cues to watch from the derivatives market. Stay with us.
Well, it is the end of the April series, and what are the cues to watch out for? How exactly has this series panned out? Nigel joins in to tell us more. Nigel?
Well, Ekta, at least the Bulls, they've avoided a hat-trick of losses. The last couple of series weren't so good. So this series, in fact, is going to the Bulls. If you pull up the series that we have had in this calendar year so far, 2 to the Bulls, 2 to the Bears. But in this series itself, well, the Sensex is up close to around 4.5%. The Nifty Bank has been a relative underperformer. That's up only around 2.5%. From the broader markets, you made good money if you got into the right stocks. 6 to around 7% returns on small and mid cap. While the PSU banking sector, that's been a relative underperformer, down close to around 5%. You'll say, well, the Nifty Bank didn't bat for the Bulls. Then who did? The IT space, that did well. The Nifty IT index is up more than 10% in this series, and that's really been driven by TCS. TCS is up close to around 22% in market capitalization terms. That's more than 100,000 crores in terms of market capitalization. And, all the IT stocks, they're giving you some returns, though Infosys, the big boy in there, is a relative underperformer with a gain of only around 3%. But besides the IT names, the other big frontliners that did well, Kotak Mahindra Bank has done well, Mahindra & Mahindra as well, that's done well, nearly around 50% returns there. And the IT index has given you returns of, more than 10% in this series. But even the pharma index is up nearly around 6.5%. And that's explained by Lupin. That's given you returns of more than 10%. Big boy in there, Reliance Industries as well, up close to around 10% odd. But there are big winners, then there are some losers as well. All the three, oil marketing companies, HPCL, BPCL, as well as IOC, all three of them part of the Nifty. I don't know whether the exchange will rethink this strategy, because getting into an election year, those stocks have been under pressure on the fears that the rising crude prices, some part of that will be passed on to these OMCs. So they have been underperformers, but SBI as well. When the Nifty does well in a series and SBI is down close to around 5%, that's telling you the mood in the PSU banking space. But from the broader markets, you got the stock right, you'll make big money. Mindtree, good set of numbers, that stock's up more than 30%. Raymond, that in fact has been the complete bull actually in this series. That's up close to around 25%. And a couple of these other stocks as well, NIT as well as Tata Elxsi, both of them 25% returns. Remember, Fortis ended the last series at virtually the low point. This series, it's bounced back close to around 24% in terms of returns. And United Breweries as well makes the list with a gain of close to around 18% odd. But if you got the stock wrong, then you'd be sitting on a big cut. PC Jewelers yesterday was down sharply. It's down more than 24% for this series. And Reliance Communications, Reliance Naval, Balrampur Chini as well. All those stocks, Ekta, they in fact have given you cuts of around 10 to around 24%, 450 points on the Nifty. This series goes to the Bulls.
Okay, well, good going there. But Mangalam joins in with some more additional cues from the F&O space.
Absolutely, Ekta. This series, like Nigel said, goes to the Bulls. 456 runs made by the Bulls. And if you saw Dhoni batting yesterday, you would imagine that maybe Bulls will bat like that in today's session as well. But the nifty spot, which is close to around 10,570, the markers on either side just for today's expiry have been placed at the 10,700 call and the 10,500 put. These marks have held for the longest time now, I think about 2 weeks. So 10,500 put as well as the 10,700 call. A couple of strategies that maybe traders might employ today. The first one is the 10,550 call as well as put. Out there, the premium available is close to around 60 rupees, which would indicate that maybe the smart money is playing for a range of 10,490 to perhaps 10,610. Or else, the other one could be selling the 10,600 call as well as selling the 10,500 put for a premium of 25 rupees, indicating that maybe hurdles would be capped at the 10,625 mark, and there would be some support at 10,475. We'll watch out for the Nifty Bank as well. The spot out there is close to 24,800. Maximum call writing has been seen at the 25,000 as well as the 25,100 levels. And the puts have been written at 24,500 levels, indicating that perhaps there would be more downside than upside. In case there is an upside, there is a strong case for short covering. The one stock I'll be watching out for today, Raymond, because that stock is up around 20-25% this series itself. Yesterday too moved higher, and the last day of this series it has entered into the F&O band, so keep an eye out on that one.
Okay, all right, Mangalam. Thanks very much for that. Let's go across to Manisha, who joins in with an update on the commodity space. Manisha.
Well, thank you so much for that. I want to begin with metals because we have seen divergent moves come in for that one. There is steel prices which have continued to gain up, but that hasn't given any support to the iron ore prices, which have declined for a fifth straight day today, while the steel prices continue to trade around those 7-week highs, as you have seen inventories decline and the construction demand continues to pick up. In the base metal space, aluminum prices have seen some strength continue. While, of course, there are concerns on what might happen with Rusal, but with the wider opening in sense of window, we did see some profit taking. But from those levels, there is buying that has come back in aluminum. So a second straight day when you are looking at nearly 2% gains coming for that. No such luck, though, for the zinc prices, which settled 2.5% on the weaker side overnight. And this is after you saw 15% jump up in LME inventories in one single day. That really seems to have pulled the prices on the lower side. A quick word on the crude oil prices, where the markets are reacting to various things. On one side, you have the U.S. weekly inventory buildup by 2.2 million barrels. The imports into U.S. have been on the higher side, and the refineries runs have been weaker, and that is what has led to increase in inventories. On the other side, while of course we did see, while we did hear statements from U.S. and France about the Iran nuclear deal, perhaps not such a strong step being taken towards that. But having said that, U.S. still has time until 12th May to come out with a final decision. So until then, this market is going to be choppy. So there is some premium yet again building up in case of crude oil prices early in Asia.
Okay, all right. Thanks so much, Manisha, for giving us that quick update. But on that note, we'll wrap up on Power Breakfast. You stay with us. Bazaar Morning Call comes up next.